Welcome back to another edition of the North Star Takes podcast. I'm Bailey Policki. He's Jacob Liberta. You can find all our videos here on our YouTube channels. We're a Minnesota sports podcast, so please hit that subscribe button and give this video a like, as well as your Minnesota Timberwolves are finally starting to realize their offensive potential a little bit here. Ever since the main guys have come back from the COVID outbreak that this team suffered, roughly a month ago, the Wolves are all of a sudden posting the best offensive numbers in the NBA, at least pretty much throughout the month of January here. And it really just, I don't know, it's just a collective effort. D'Angelo Russell's shooting and just playing overall way better. You're getting huge contributions from guys like Jalen Noel off the bench. Obviously, Anthony Edwards is extremely good. Cat is having an extremely efficient season, although the rebounding numbers aren't quite there. But, offensively, he's having a great season. Patrick Beverley's been huge, especially, catch and shoot threes, which we kind of knew coming into the season. And even Jaden McDaniels has seemed to kind of take a step forward here within the last month and a half. So what's your initial thoughts on this Timberwolves team? And they started off the season as a defensive team. Now they're an offensive team. Do you think they can kind of find a way to balance that out a little bit?
Yeah, I think that perfectly sums up how the season's gone. I feel like it's so up and down. One night they come out, they look like they can play with everybody, but then one night they come out just super flat. They can't play with anybody. So
Yeah.
I think that it's just the reality of the season and this team that we have. It's like you said early on, we played with a strong defense, and the offense, especially in the half court, was just awful. And then you come out New Year, you flip the calendar, and all of a sudden our offense is the best in the league, but then the defense is starting to take a step back. So you kind of wonder, that's really the $1,000,000 question, is if this team can find any sort of balance, so that we can play both ways and not have any liabilities or at least any glaring problems. So I think that'll probably be the biggest thing for Finch to figure out as we get down the stretch here. Because, the Wolves are now 46 games in their season, so we're well over halfway in now. And now it's time to make a stretch run and hopefully position yourself to end up top 6 in the West, so you can guarantee yourself a playoff series without having to play any playing games to lock it in. So I think that's probably the one of the biggest things to watch down the stretch of the season, is if Finch can get these guys to find a balance playing both offense and defense. Because I know it's a give and take a little bit, really, because the more effort you put in defense, the more gas you're probably going to be and the less effective you're probably going to be on offense, and vice versa. If you're putting a lot of effort on offense to score buckets, then you're probably be a little bit more lackadaisical on defense. So I think definitely there's something to be said there about it being hard to find a good balance.
Yeah, and the problem with the Wolves' defensive scheme is it's kind of a scramble scheme where guys are constantly rotating. They're constantly closing out to the three-point line. And, guys keep having to fill in, and that's great, and it works. But, like you said, it tires you out. And it kind of makes you wonder if it can get to the point here where the Timberwolves can just play a little smarter on defense to where they don't have to try as hard. Yeah. You're already seeing that a little bit. Like Anthony Edwards has some slick steals. D'Angelo Russell is kind of baiting guys at some points too, as a floating defender. So the Wolves are doing some things here that are, very smart defensively, but clearly they've transitioned more into an offensive team, and that just kind of happens when the shots start falling more. And so I guess, if they're scoring, then the focus on defense probably goes away a little bit too. But I'm really curious how they handle this upcoming stretch here of playing like the Phoenix Suns, Golden State Warriors, Utah Jazz, Denver Nuggets. That's a brutal stretch. Denver's not amazing, but they're still in front of us. Jokic is still playing at an MVP type level. Phoenix doesn't necessarily scare me, but they're such a good team. And, Golden State, obviously we just beat them, but that was without Steph Curry and Draymond Green, who I'm sure will be back for this game we play them coming up here. So, what are your thoughts going into this stretch? I guess what would be an encouraging record through these upcoming 4 games? Obviously the Portland game, we're recording before the Portland game here, but that Portland's not very good this year. So what are your thoughts on the upcoming stretch of those 4 games?
Yeah. So beyond Portland, I think it would be very, very good if we finished it 2-2, really, just because that's how the season's gone, especially against the some of the best opponents you'll face all year. Mm-hmm. I think that'd be massive. But as long as you can avoid an over, I think I'll probably take that. As long as it feels like we're giving a good effort every night that we play these teams, and feels like we're hanging in games. Like, obviously when you play the best, you're going to have to really bring it at the end. They know how to close it out. So If
Yep.
we drop a couple of those, it is what it is. I'm not going to be too disappointed about that. But we just can't lose them all. Then I'd feel a little discouraged, and obviously that would set us back in the standings too. Because right now we're, as we record this, we're clinging on to that 7th spot in the West, and I like where we're at because then at the very least we'd be hosting a play-in game,
Yep.
and you just have to win that one, and then you'd be locked into that 7th spot in the West and moving on to a series in the playoffs. And if you drop it, well, then you're still the home team against whoever won that other playing game for another chance to get into the playoffs, just as the 8th spot instead. So I know that's long term future, and we're just talking about this
Right.
next week. But I think this is a great measuring stick for these guys, and I feel like a guy like Ant and really this team, I think it's pretty jacked to play some of these great teams. I feel like if you can't bring energy to these matchups, then what can you really bring it for? What gets you up to play in these games?
Yeah, exactly. And just a quick look here as we're recording, the Clippers are getting destroyed by Washington in the second quarter. The Lakers are playing Brooklyn, which I could see end up being an L for the Lakers. So, I mean, I think odds are pretty decent for the Wolves to get the 7 seed. We're hearing now that Paul George might be out for the season. Um, the Lakers are just a mess with Russell Westbrook being there. So,
Yeah.
and they have the hardest remaining schedule of all the teams in that top 8 or 9. So, I think the Wolves have a really good shot to get the 7 seed, which means you get that home play-in game. You get 2 play-in games for sure. If you could just somehow pass Denver to get that 6 seed, or Dallas potentially, like Dallas is up at 5, but I'm still not a huge believer in them either. But just Luka being back has made a big difference for them. So the Wolves are right there, man. They got to play a little more consistently if they can beat some of these teams that are in front of them. Yeah, I don't expect them to go 3-1 on this trip, but if you could split and go 2-2 and maybe beat Phoenix and Utah, that'd be encouraging just because like Utah's smoked us twice this year. And it'd be nice to see us go there and get a win, finally shut down Donovan Mitchell, who's been killing us, and, play a nice competitive, gritty game against the Jazz and pull one out. Denver obviously would be a good one to get to since they're right in front of us. We're only a game and a half back as it stands right now. But I don't know. They're a fun team. Obviously, they're somewhat frustrating at the same time because there's so much inconsistency. But that's what you're going to get with a young team. Like we've mentioned before, I mean, there's 5 players in this rotation that are 22 or younger. Cat and D'Lo are 25 and 26 years old. So then Pat Bev and Torian Prince are really the only old guys, quote unquote. Pat Bev's in his 30s, but it's a fun collection of players. So I've said this before, but I mean, you just have to enjoy this Timberwolves season because this is beyond pretty much everyone's expectations. Vegas had an over under at 33 or 34 and a half or something like that.
Yeah.
Most experts were predicting them to be like 10 seed at best. So, I mean, what are your thoughts on them slightly overperforming expectations?
I think it's really a testament to what all the really optimistic Wolves fans are saying out there, that the potential is definitely there just because we have a lot of guys that can hoop. It's just a matter of it coming together and gelling a little bit. That's what we've gotten. These guys play for each other, and I think that's great. I think they seems like a tight-knit group, so I think that's really driving the success, and that's what people who don't watch the Wolves every night or pay attention to the Wolves every day, they didn't know coming into the season that these guys are really more talented than meets the eye kind of group. So I think this is great that they're being rewarded as far as I think starting to gain some national praise, not quite a bunch yet, but I think they'll be due to get some, especially once I will say my big prediction down the stretch here. At some point this season, we're going to string together, I'd say 6 wins in a row, and I think it'll be the first time since the KG era that we've won 6 games in a row, and I think we're going to do it at some point. I haven't looked at the schedule to really pinpoint where exactly, but obviously this is very health dependent. Our team has to be at full strength, but I think we're going to do it. I think at some point we're going to hit a 6-game winning streak, and people are really going to take notice.
Wow. I mean, I absolutely hope you're right because honestly, that's all it takes is a winning streak like that. Say we hover around 500, all of a sudden you get a 6-game winning streak. You're 6 games above 500. The Nuggets are only 3 games above 500 right now. The Mavs are 7 games above. Like a winning streak like that can put you right there with those teams. So it's not out of the realm of possibility. They have a fairly easy schedule, especially after this upcoming stretch against these tough teams for the rest of the season. So it'll be interesting to see where that goes. Before we wrap here,
Sure.
Let's say the Wolves somehow manage to get that 6th seed. Do you think Chris Finch is deserving of Coach of the Year, or do you see it going to like Memphis's coach?
I'd be hard pressed to not give him the award. I know I got my Wolves hat on, I got my Wolves bias, but even that aside, you think about it, like who else stacks up with them? Yes, Memphis, very good, but like they're I don't know, they made the playoffs last year, and so
Is
it's
it
like
split
not.
up by conference, or is it just NBA Coach of the Year?
I think it's just NBA Coach of the Year. So
Okay.
it's possible uh, in Chicago too, but I
Chicago,
think
Cleveland.
yeah, Chicago or Cleveland. I'd say JB Bickerstaff. That's a good one, and then. I don't even know. It is Billy Donovan's coach in Chicago right now, isn't it?
I don't.
I haven't watched a lot of Bulls games lately, obviously,
I,
but I
yeah,
think it is him.
I want to say he's not there anymore.
Not
Oh,
Billy.
no, it is still him. You're right.
Yeah, that's what I thought, but I wasn't for sure that certainly. But anyways, not in tune with Bulls basketball, but
Yeah, right.
certainly he's up there. JB Bickerstaff is, but I mean Finch, the Wolves, who made the playoffs once since 2004. So it's
Yeah,
like, how much more does he have to do to get that cred? So really, I don't see why not. If we got into the playoffs and we're firmly in, not just scratching in, I
yep.
think there's no reason he shouldn't be coach of the year, at least be heavily considered for it.
Yeah, dude, just looking at this Eastern Conference here, the top 6 seeds are all within 2.5 games. Like
Oh,
Miami is in first, which I didn't know. Like obviously this changes every day because of how close these teams are, but
yeah,
then you got the Bulls and Nets a half game back, the Bucks are a game back, the Cavs are a game and a half back, which is insane that they're a game and a half back of the 1 seed.
yeah.
Then you got Philly 2.5 back. Like that Eastern Conference is nuts, man.
It's very competitive, and it goes really deep where anybody could beat anybody in those playoff series come the spring. So I'm excited for that. But in this Western Conference, it's a little bit lighter, but that's good for the Wolves. And
Yep.
I still think we're a deserving playoff team. When you stack us up against the rest of the league, I still think we're a top half of the league team. So
Yep.
I think the Wolves are fairly poised here, 7th in the West. I think it's probably about where we're at. I think we are 6th or 7th best team in the West. So
Yep.
I think it's just about right now. And now I just got to stay healthy and win the games it should, and maybe steal a couple along the way too.
Exactly. If the offense can keep rolling the way it is, maybe we can hang in there with the Golden State. Maybe we can beat a team like, Utah, where
Yes.
obviously Utah's got a good system, but in terms of like the offensive talent, I have no doubt we have better offensive talent than Utah does. It's just, can we put it together for a full game? Can we play as a team, not turn the ball over? There's all these different factors that go into it, but
Exactly.
it'll be interesting to see how they handle the upcoming stretch. So we'll keep an eye on that. But until next time, please be sure to hit the subscribe button. Give this video a like as well. Give us a follow on both Twitter and Instagram. And leave your comments below, your thoughts on the Timberwolves having the best offense in the month of January. If you think they're going to be able to keep rising here in the Western Conference, do you think they'll get to that elusive 6-game win streak that Liberto was saying that they'll get to at some point this season?
Yes.
Leave your comments below. And until next time, thanks for watching.